anyway, let me get into my next story because some shit is cracking off in Florida though. The story does pertain to Florida. This is not exclusively a Florida issue. So, as you guys see, if you could pop up that headline for me there, Wilbert. Florida's labor shortage is about to get real as oh whoops. Wait. I popped up the wrong article. So the labor shortage in Florida is a major problem. Why is the labor shortage in Florida so bad right now? Well, the labor shortage in Florida is bad because Ron DeSantis is openly hostile towards migrants. And on top of that, DeSantis is being aided by ICE, agencies like ICE. They have been rounding up undocumented workers from restaurants, from construction sites, and it's actually causing a chilling effect on a number of industries, including hospitality, construction, food service, etc. But now it's about to get worse because there is a new immigration law that is getting ready to take effect there in Florida, making things more difficult for people who are undocumented and the fear that people who are undocumented are going to get apprehended, round up, and put into and get put on buses and be sent up to Martha's Vineyard or be sent to Chicago or be sent to Philadelphia, New York, or here in Washington, D.C. We've had a number of those. And this is causing a major problem. Oh, as you see there in the headlines for farm workers also, right? Farmers are decrying the harshness of these immigration laws set forth by DeSantis in the Florida GOP-controlled legislature because literally they don't have workers. They don't have people to plant. They do not have people to harvest. And this is being exasperated. Now, how do you get people to work? How do you get Americans to fill these jobs? Right? Because these migrant populations are being exploited. The ones that were able to work or are still working, they're being exploited by wage theft. They're not being properly compensated. They're being exploited by the conditions in which they are forced to work. I follow the United Farm Workers, UFW, which is a union that does a lot of work mainly on the West Coast that I see, but I think they do work all over. But you know, they constantly document how migrant farm workers in particular, especially those who do harvest, are subjected to excruciating conditions outside. You know, this summer we were dealing with record temperatures in a lot of places. A lot of times these people are not given proper water breaks, bathroom breaks, etc. I mean, it's slave labor minus the chains, right? And because of the hostility in places like Texas and Florida towards immigrant workers, migrant workers, these people are not coming to these states, right? I guess they're going other places. So what does Florida plan to do to replace that missing labor market? Well, they're going to do what America's always done. Will, if you could please cue up the package from WPTV. A member of the Florida legislature has proposed a bill that will be debated on starting January of 2024 to loosen the labor laws for children, for the kids. We've seen this happen already in places like Iowa, where the governor there signed a law saying that children, teenagers, 14, 15, 16-year-olds can work in meat packing plants. They can operate heavy machinery. They can do all the things that adults do, except they are kids. They are literally children. And this is happening in a number of GOP controlled states. And now Florida is next on the list. So let's take a look at that. What I thought was actually a pretty good package. Who is this? WPTV. Let's take a look.
I'm Forrest Saunders at the state capitol. Should Florida loosen its child labor laws? Well, the state representative says absolutely and is touting a bill to do just that, saying it's an opportunity, not just for young people, but employers as well. When it comes to loosening Florida's child labor laws, Ashley Bessison isn't a fan.
Sounds like you're a no on this idea.
I am a no on this idea.
The Florida mom has a 16-year-old already tight on time, working a job 20 hours a week on top of school. The thought of longer hours, not ideal, says Ashley.
Because they're going to have their whole life to do that. And that leaves little time for extracurricular activities, which is my child having a job is also keeping her from doing extracurricular activities because she can only choose one.
This is for here to go.
But there is a growing movement across the country to change state standards and allow 16 and 17-year-olds to work longer hours.
Here you go. Thank you.
Arkansas, Iowa, New Jersey, and New Hampshire all adopting similar ideas. Florida may now be next.
I believe the government needs to get out of people's way and allow them to make their own path to success.
State Rep Linda Cheney filed HB 49 this week. It removes current restrictions on 16 and 17-year-olds, letting them work before 6:30 a.m., after 11 p.m., and more than 30 hours a week, plus on days before class. The bill also allows 15-year-olds more hours and fewer restrictions during summer months or on holiday breaks. Cheney says it's a chance for kids to earn more cash in a tough economy and will help ease a labor shortage.
We're not rounding children up and putting them on assembly lines. This bill aligns us with the federal child labor laws and the same laws that are in other states, and all of our protections for hazardous work environments that prevent children from being those environments are still in place. This bill does nothing to endanger children. It just creates opportunity for young people.
There are early critics. State Rep Anna Escamani has called the idea, quote, gross.
I understand that we have workforce challenges. I think part of that's due to the anti-immigration policies of the Republican Party. But the solution to this crisis is not making our kids go to work at an earlier age for longer hours.
The Democrat also took issue with a portion at the bottom of the bill forbidding local governments from circumventing the policy. But session is still a long ways off, and bills seldom end up exactly as they started. While Cheney says she's ready to get to work and has positive feedback from colleagues,
Let's just let them be kids a little bit longer.
parents like Ashley will be waiting and watching to see what happens next. At last check, about 60 bills have been filed for the upcoming legislative session and hundreds more expected. The gavel drops here in Tallahassee January 9th of next year. That's the latest out here at the Capitol. I'm Forrest Saunders reporting.
Yeah, so the anti-immigration bill in Florida, what was this known as? It was SB 718. It was enacted into law, or it went into law July 1st of this year. Definitely impacting the available labor force in Florida because it's targeting obviously migrant workers and is very restrictive on employers in the ways that they can hire people, especially who are undocumented. And it is having an effect on the agricultural, the hospitality, the construction industries, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, and this is part of our myth busting mandate, right? We all have to be our own propagandists. We have to propagandize our folks. We have to propagandize our friends, family, colleagues. Well, maybe don't propagandize people at work. maybe you can propagandize people at work a little bit. America don't like kids. America don't look out for fucking kids. When has America looked out for kids? I'll wait. Because but for the labor movement, well, hold on, skirt. Let's back this thing all the way the fuck up. First of all, kids was chattel, right? Kids was all the way property, especially Black children, even indigenous children. We have, as a nation, I hate to say we, I don't like to be speaking French when I'm talking about America, but you know, with the nation, we have kidnapped children. We have sold children. We have forced small children into work in the fields, into work in factories, into work in mines, into work in very dangerous, hazardous conditions. And maybe this is the history of the world. Maybe, in other societies, there are places that do care about the health and safety and welfare of children, but America is not one of those places. And historically, for the majority of this rotten colony's existence, kids have been made to do all kinds of fucked up shit, especially around work, right? And there had to been an actual movement. Like the child labor movement was wrapped up in that early, well, relatively early, let's say 20th century, late 19th century, early of 20th century workers' rights movements, because kids was getting fucked up on the job, right? They were taking advantage, especially Depression era labor issues, right? Of kids who were orphaned, kids who were abandoned. They would just pick them kids up and set them kids right in the fucking field and set them out there all goddamn day, or set them into the coal mine, or just all kinds of excruciating conditions. So this is very much on par and on brand. This suggestion, this latest proposed bill in Florida. And when the reporter was running down all the states that have enacted these the lessening of child labor protections, to hear New Jersey perked my ears a little bit. I was like, God damn, really, Jersey? Really? Y'all in there with the likes of Iowa and Arkansas and now potentially Florida too. Jersey, what is happening? Donnie, what's going on in Jersey? They don't give a fuck about the kids in Jersey, huh? They're going to let the kids work the blackjack tables at that fucking Atlantic City. But hold on. So I want to know how y'all feel about this. I can imagine how some of y'all might feel about this, because I know we have some parents in the building. But I was a laboring child in terms of being a teen. I think I have shared with y'all that, my father had better things to do with his time and his money, right? So, in my household, we did not receive child support. So I was on the grind. I was on my literal fucking job. Well, if we count, let's talk about off the books work first, right? Because girls are socialized to childcare and babysitting at young ages, right? Paid, right? So I was already babysitting for small children. I don't know. I was 11, 12, maybe not 11, more like probably like 12 or 13. I was doing childcare. I was watching people's kids, right? For money. But then when I was old enough to get on the books, I think was 14 or 15. And as soon as I was old enough to get a work permit, I was working. First job at Pizza Hut, after school and on the weekends. Second job at Chuck E. Cheese, after school and on the weekends. Now, let me tell y'all, in the 90s, me and one of my friends were having this conversation. Like, in the 90s, let me talk about how they didn't give a fuck about kids in the 90s. Like, now I don't think children can work past a certain time at night, past 10 or 11 or whatever. On school nights, shit. Dog. I was routinely closing at Chuck E. fucking Cheese in Laurel. Like, I had the Chuck E. Cheese closed at 9 or 10. It was at least another hour after close before you could leave, because you had to clean up. I would wake up, I would have to be at Chuck E. Cheese 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings to go open, because once I had moved up in the world, I was making like $6 whole an hour. I was the birthday party coordinator in high school. So I had to get there early on Saturday mornings to set up the birthday parties, right? But this notion that number one, that we prioritize children's well-being, that we prioritize children's education, absolutely not. Children are a voiceless labor pool, right? Of which you can work them and exploit them, and generally kids won't complain. They won't they won't say anything. In some instances, their parents won't even say anything. Well, I guess that's just what your boss wants you to do. Jesus Christ. Like, I just would like for us not to indoctrinate and socialize our children that they have to like listen to the boss all the time. Now, I maybe I might be alone in that perspective because I'm anti-authority generally, right? You know, I'm fuck the police and fuck the boss all at the same time. So maybe don't listen to an insubordinate like me. But I don't think we should be like to the mother's point in the package. Like, yes, the kids have the rest of their actual natural lives to be working. There is no reason why kids should be or be even allowed to be to work 30 plus hours a week as students. If it's their education that we're prioritizing, then we need to do that. Now, I understand that some kids are going to work literally out of necessity, like they are there to help support the household. And I understand that. And that is another searing indictment on the status of our society where teenagers are tasked to be the breadwinners, because in America and under capitalism, people don't get paid enough. I won't say they don't earn enough, because I really think people, earning and what you get paid to me are two different things, because you could work your ass off. You have earned a thriving wage, way more than a living wage. You have earned a thriving wage, but is that what you get paid? Nope. Is the wage that you've earned commensurate with the wage that you have been given? Absolutely not. So that continues to reflect poorly on how capitalism puts pressures even on kids in order to survive out here. But I don't think it's just some shit we should be feeding into, right? And the fact that it is the GOP, with the exception of New Jersey, the fact that it is the GOP leading these efforts should further crystallize the hypocrisy, particularly of those who claim to be conservative or who lean conservative and say that they care so much about kids. They don't want their kids exposed to the gay agenda. They don't want the white kids feeling bad and feeling guilty for being Caucasian because they learned about the real history of slavery. It's like, no, y'all really don't give a fuck about these kids. Because if it were up to you, you would set them out in the fast food drive-through line when they was 14 and let them work 40 hours a fucking week. Fuck school. And we know, because these kids is not getting a quality education anyway out here in public schools. Maybe that's why the GOP is like, well, fuck it. we have intentionally defunded schools. We have deprioritized the quality of schools. So we might as well put them out there. Maybe the GOP knows something that we don't. The xenophobia and the racism and the policies of exclusion and harassment and harm towards undocumented workers, maybe this is the plan, right? You want to make things so difficult for undocumented people, you don't want them around. So instead, we're going to be putting kids back in the fields. I guess American-born kids, right? But this is going to be very harmful for undocumented children as well, for migrant children as well. Because again, this is a population that is not going to complain. They are not going to complain about being overworked and working in poor conditions. They are going to be there to earn a wage in order to survive. Ergo, therefore, we need to get rid of this fucked up economic system that we find ourselves in, where the kids got to do that. It's good for your character. Right. Get the fuck out of here. Yes. Listen, I don't know if I feel... Am I a better person because I was working at 14, 15 years old? I don't think so. I don't think so. In fact, retrospectively, I just realized how exploited I was. I still have a lot of my pay stubs from Chuck E. Cheese, for example, right? Y'all, I was making $5.25 an hour, which is absolutely abhorrent considering I was making $5.25 an hour in 1994, 1995. It is ginormous 2023, and the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour in 25 fucking years, 30 years, damn near. The fucking wage has only gone up $2 and some America is a joke. Please burn this place down as soon as possible. Even if it's the rowdy racist whites that burn America down. Like, I am rooting for America's downfall. That might be why I might be half-ass rooting for Trump. Not because I like Trump, not because I support Trump, because Trump is quite content